has launched the Hub City Hero program this year to showcase members of our community that selflessly and steadily give their time, their talent to improve the lives of others. Many citizens have been nominated, but please welcome Lauren Pritchard Cobb is our February Hub City Hero. Welcome, Lauren.
Hey, how's it going?
Going well. So glad and honored to have you as our Hub City Hero for February. So got a couple questions we want to ask you. If you could just start off and, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I was born and raised here in Jackson. I am a full-time singer-songwriter. That's what I do for a living. I do some of it under my name, and then I also do some of it under a name Lolo, which is a long-time nickname. So all of the fancy pop records I put out as Lolo, and then I also write musicals and perform in musical theater and Broadway shows, and I do all that as Lauren Pritchard or Lauren Pritchard Cobb now that I'm married. And I am a mom and a wife. I have a beautiful 5-month-old baby boy. And my husband, Colton, also grew up here. We actually grew up knowing each other. And then, as the things go, found each other later on. We were married last year. And when I'm here, I spend as much time being involved in the community as I possibly can. And that means a lot of different things because I am a performer by trade. A lot of the things that I do are performance related. So I'll be singing at a thing or helping with my sort of performance talents to do fundraisers or, these types of things. But Jackson has always been my favorite place and my favorite city. I love it here. I think it's a really special community. It has an amazing arts community especially for how small we are. The investment that this town has in the arts of all forms is really amazing. And so when I decided to come back, I was away for about 15 years working, and I lived in New York City for 12 of those years. And I was homesick, honestly, every single day that I was away. And that's the truth. All of my family is here, but I had to be away doing what I needed to do to be able to get to the point to move back here and still be able to do my job, basically. But yeah, moving back, I just think this community is so special, and especially because I still am in the arts myself, and because I just believe in the importance of the arts and especially what it does for kids, what it does for a developing young mind, how it can help you later on in your life, how therapeutic music can be, even if you don't go into it for a career. It can be such a source of sort of comfort and stress relief and those types of things. And so, being able to be involved in that here has been awesome. And, like I said, I love this place. It's my favorite place. And, I've lived in places that have big sort of fancy versions of things in big cities like New York. But, ultimately, I want to be here, and I'm happy to be here, and I'm completely honored by this. This is so kind. I mean, honestly, this is such a nice thing to receive. So, yeah.
Glad to have you back and have you here in Jackson. And so you touched on giving back through your talents. And so we know that you give back by hosting community concerts, help with the RIFA and organizations like that. So kind of tell us what you've done utilizing your talents to help give back.
So one of the things that I specifically have done is I started 6 years ago, a fundraiser with my friend, Bo Kitzman, who is also from here as well. We just sort of decided that we wanted to do a Christmas show because we realized, the symphony does a fancy Christmas orchestra concert, right? And there's a couple of other sort of Santa related things, but there wasn't really just a Christmas show where you could like show up with your whole family and like you didn't have to be super dressed up in order to do it. You could just show up. And so we did that. We did that the first year. And actually, the first year was not a fundraiser because we didn't know what to expect. We just were like, we literally put it together in about a week, and 300 people showed up. And so we were really blown away by that. That was 6 years ago. And so then the next year we were like, well, if 300 people are going to come and everybody gives $5, that's a decent amount of money. And we can probably give that to, someone that needs it, because especially at Christmas, it's cold. People are trying to figure out how to put a meal on the table, you know, a Christmas dinner and presents under the tree. And it can be, for those who are not fortunate to not have to worry about those types of things at Christmas, it's a very unpleasant season because it's a reminder of what you don't have and what you can't afford. And so that was the other thought process, was to just try to maybe put a little extra in people's pockets that really genuinely need it, and especially at that time of year. So we started the fundraiser, and when I tried to figure out who we would partner with, that was when I really got to know more about RIFA's snack backpack food program. And that program, I mean, I know you know all about it, but I find that I'm telling more and more people about it year after year, because so many people do not realize that there are over 1,500 kids receiving specifically in the program each year. And overall, between the school bus that they have now that goes into the bus that goes and delivers meals, plus the program, they give away over 250,000 meals to children. And that is just in this county. That's not like the whole state. And that's going to children who are not guaranteed a meal unless they're in school. And you think about what a year like last year, and now here we are again this year in a COVID crisis where kids aren't necessarily in school, so they're not getting meals. You know, it's a pretty devastating. It's a pretty devastating reality that we have a program that requires this much necessity and attention. And the other situation with that program is they're always in need. There's never a time where they have enough resources, they have enough money. Like, they are always in need because the program is always going on, because there are always children who need to be fed. So when I became aware of all of that, that's when we decided we would focus the attention specifically on that program. So when we raise money for that program every Christmas at our concert, the money goes specifically to the snack backpack program at RIPA. And at this point, over 6 years, we've raised over $15,000.
Wow.
And, you know, and this is one of those community ideas where it was just an idea that Bo and I had, because we realized that they're a program, they always need resources. And we have found that the more we tell people about it, the more that they will just sort of go and donate throughout the year, which is really kind of all I want, you know. And I would love to see that program disappear, but I don't think that that will ever necessarily be a reality. So if it's never going to disappear, you know, anything that we can do to support RIPA's efforts, because they are tireless and they always need so many resources. So, you know, that's been a really encouraging thing to see as we talk to people about the program and also about the event. And we've also donated hundreds of pounds of food as well. It's a two-part thing. You know, we have tickets that you buy, and that is your sort of admission / donation, you know, to the concert itself. And then if you want to bring extra donation items, non-perishables and stuff that are specific on that list, people do. And I've just honestly been very overwhelmed at the community for supporting this event, because, you know, this past year was the first year that we really properly got a sponsor and did all of that. It's or every single year it's been growing and growing. And I think, you know, one day, who knows, I would love to see it grow to be like this year, for example. We did it as a gospel brunch, and it was one show and one sitting of food. And honestly, I would love for it to get to a point where we have 3 sittings for brunch, you know, like that would make me really happy, because what that means is that we're just raising that much more money for a program that is constantly in need. And beyond that, you know, I live in the Atlanta area, and I help my efforts to that any way I can. I also have taught a few classes at the University of Memphis, Lambeth, within their entertainment and arts program, specifically focusing on songwriting and creative writing. And that has been a tremendous joy to just kind of shed the light that whatever I can on what these kids want to do. You know, I had a lot of amazing teachers in my life that did that for me. So being able to sort of pay it forward, if you will. And then beyond that, I have worked with all different kinds of organizations, from, you know, Runway for a Cure to helping fundraise for places like the Symphony. So, you know, it's all over the place what I do. But the thing for me is all of these things go to give us a better Jackson, and a better community. And the reality, I don't have to tell you, obviously, Scott, but the reality is, you have to take care of every part of your community in order to make it flourish. You have to take care of the concrete. You have to take care of the people. You have to take care of the animals. You have to take care of everything, right? And so all of these organizations that work to give us a better Jackson, it's sort of the least I can do, I feel like.
I'm going to tell you, if you ever want to have a fundraiser to take care of the concrete and the asphalt, I will be more than happy to be a part of that.
Strongly about it. There's some places where we need a little TLC, and I know you're getting there. I can't. I mean, you have a lot on your plate, and I really commend you for, first of all, being very direct in your approach. I think it's been very helpful because people feel like it's what you see is what you get, and I certainly appreciate that. I know the rest of the city does as well, but you really love this city, and it shows, and I appreciate that.
Wait, we're not talking about me. We're talking about you right now. Is there anything that citizens, people that live here in Jackson, can do to help you in your projects?
Well, I guess, the main thing that I focus on throughout the whole year now at this point is the snack backpack program. And so what I would say, the main thing I would say is, I would encourage people to maybe educate themselves a little bit more about what this program really is and why it exists and how we can work to maybe slowly, year after year, lower the number of kids that need this program. Because, like I said, I've been doing this for 6 years now, and every year there have been more kids in the program every single year. When I started, there were about 700 kids in the program. There are over 1,500 kids in the program now. And I wish it wasn't that way. I wish the numbers were going down. So, the first thing I would say is, I think it's helpful to understand that it can be a community effort, meaning pay attention to, if you have kids in school, especially like this program focuses on kids in public school. So if you have a child in public school, I don't necessarily mean be like, nosy, but if you notice that maybe there's a child in a class with your kids who seems lacking, it is important to pay attention to these things. You don't want to be nosy, but I do think that we can find a better way to maybe care for each other a little bit in this way, just sort of get a little bit more knowledge on the situation. But beyond that, the other thing is, the snack backpack program needs resources every day of the year, 365, 24/7, because they only run the program 40 weeks out of the year, which is the school year. That's when they're allowed to administer the program. Then they received the amazing, donation through Toyota to get the school bus that goes and stops throughout the city and delivers meals to kids specifically. And they do that in the summer break spot throughout the school year. And it is helpful, but they need resources for everything. So if you have like an extra box of, quick heat up macaroni and cheese, like these kinds of things that, or you go to the grocery store and you're shopping and you feel like you can spend an extra $15 on a few resources, a couple of boxes of Pop-Tarts and some ravioli, and go drop it off. You may think that it's only a couple of things you're dropping off, but it goes such a long way, because the more that can happen, it's just the more resources that they have, in the more that they're able to easily feed and do what they need to do. So I would just encourage people to, to not be afraid, because, and I don't mean that, I don't want to sound any certain way when I say that, but it is sort of this weird kind of thing if you've never really gotten into the world of fundraising, or not even fundraising, but sort of giving back. I think sometimes people can have a tendency to be like, oh, well, I don't really know what that is, so I don't really know what to do, so I'm just not going to do anything. And the reality is that we cannot just do nothing with this situation. We as a community, I think, need to come together specifically around these types of issues where it comes down to children and caring for the children in our community, because they don't have the ability to care for themselves. They can only do what they know how to do. And we're talking about elementary school kids, right? So we're not talking about seniors in high school. And so the more that people, I think, can just sort of be attentive to it, and if they have the means to give to others, it goes such a long way. Because for a large majority of us living here, we have absolutely more than we will ever need and could ever want, honestly. And that is the truth, and that is myself included, and that's a lot of people that I personally know, including my family. We have been so blessed that we have more than we could truly ever need: a roof over our heads, a place to have a warm shower, these kinds of things, never having to want for anything. And if you find yourself in that situation, where you can give some back, it 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 changes lives, especially within this snack backpack program. It really does. Yeah.
You got it all right there. I think you got the next question too answered right there on how to get involved. I mean, just do it. Don't be scared. That's
Yeah.
great.
I mean, I think, and I will say this because I have experienced that myself. When I was first getting involved in all this, I thought, okay, I really don't know anything about this. I don't know how this works. It felt, I don't know that scary is the right word, but it's when you wade into waters that you don't really know, it is different. And I don't want that to sound like, oh, I'm so privileged that I didn't know. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, you don't even have to be super privileged to not really have ever been in the situation where you're like, going and donating and working and those kinds of things. And I, when I lived in New York City, I think where some of this came from. When I lived in New York City, my very best friend up there, when it would get really cold in New York, we would go, especially this one neighborhood that we both lived near. It's called Union Square. And they have a Panera Bread there, and there are homeless people everywhere, all over the street, asking for money, asking for resources, whatever. And we would go and we would get, a whole bunch of warm meals. And, they have those pick two, and it would be like a sandwich and a soup kind of thing. And we would pass out meals to the homeless on the street and feed them. And we would do that a couple of times during the winter. And so, because food is like sort of like hot water. It's a resource that if you don't have there's no way that you can ever be in a good place when you're hungry. And then especially when you're thinking of kids who are not guaranteed a meal at night at home. They only are guaranteed that when they physically go to school and they get their breakfast and they get their lunch, right? And so if they're coming into school and they're hungry, that breakfast is probably not going to satisfy them. It's just going to barely scratch the surface. And then we are expecting them to sit in school for hours, and be hangry. I can't do anything when I'm hangry. So we expect these kids to sit in school and be hungry and try to get them to focus or behave or whatever. And we as adults, we don't behave when we're hungry. I mean, honestly, be real with yourself about your hangriness. I mean, I'll be honest about it. So my point being, especially with programs like this, reaching out, understanding more about the program, understanding more about the children in the program, understanding more about what RIFA does overall with their program. They don't just feed the kids. It's a whole, the program is amazing. So, having a better understanding about what programs like this in your community do and how you can really be a part of it, it again, I say it really goes to change lives, not only the lives of the people who are finally not having to be hungry anymore, but it goes on to change, the lives of those that are getting involved. And I would say, regardless of how you choose to get involved in your community, whether it's like something Earth Day related, if you're helping, with sort of the nature side of things, or whether you're helping with something like the Snack Backpack program, we have to care for the entire community in order to see it flourish. And there's a lot of ways that can be done. And I just think, the other thing is, I think we can all be very complacent. I think it also is really difficult now, where we all have to be away from each other or distanced and masked and everything, but there's still so many ways that we can continue to help this community grow in diversity, in understanding, in fellowship, to just help this community be the place that I've always known it to be, which is a really wonderful city that is full of a lot of great things, a lot of great people, and the more that we can focus on moving the community forward, I think that ultimately we will just see the good things that have continued to come up that I think bring us together, don't, tear us apart. I think we will continue to see those things.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Lauren. It's obvious that you have a passion for Jackson, for people, for service, and an empathy to pour yourself and your heart into the work. So no question why you are February's Hub City Hero. So thank you again so much. If you are interested in nominating a Hub City Hero, you can go to jacksontn.gov under Hub City Hero under the Mayor's Projects and Initiatives. Those recipients are selected monthly, and after a year, one will be recognized and awarded $1,000 to the charity of their choice. So be sure to go to jacksontn.gov and nominate a Hub City Hero, and see you back here next month.
Thanks, Scott.